aggregation or clubbing of income. Usually in the exam, theory questions are asked from this chapter. Either they ask what is clubbing or aggregation of income, or what is deemed income, or sometimes they ask what are the provisions relating to clubbing of income. In this video, I have tried to cover the theoretical aspects of clubbing of income, and to have a proper understanding, few scenarios, problems with explanation is also given. Now let us see what is clubbing of income and why it is done. The income of other person is added or included in assessee's total income is called as clubbing of income or aggregation of income. So, aggregation of income is if the assessee's total income is added along with some other person's income, then it is called as either clubbing of income or aggregation of income. The main aim of clubbing by the assessee is to avoid the tax liability or to reduce the tax burden for himself. At the same time, the benefit derived from the income shall be enjoyed by his family members, relatives or friends. So, the main aim of clubbing here is the assessee can enjoy the benefit for himself. At the same time, he can give the benefit of the income to his family members. I'll just give you an example for this. Suppose for example, if X transfers the rent of his house property to Y, whose income is nil. Here, the main reason of transferring the income of the house property of X is that he can reduce the tax burden, and Y's income is nil. Y is his brother, his income is nil. So, the Y can enjoy the benefit of the house property. So, property also doesn't go anywhere. At the same time, tax burden is also reduced. In such cases, the government has brought certain restrictions to discourage such practices, so that the provisions are there where the income is clubbed to the assessee's income for taxation purpose, where the assessee cannot evade the tax. Section 60 to 65 applies to the provisions relating to clubbing of income. In this chapter, we are going to see transfer of income without transfer of asset under section 60, transfer of income by revocable transfer of the asset, transfer of income by irrevocable transfer of assets, income of individual assessee to include income of his spouse, daughter-in-law and minor, and some deemed incomes. These are all the things which is there in your syllabus, which is covered here in this video. The first one is transfer of income without transfer of asset. So, income alone is transferred, not the asset. In that case, clubbing is done. So, see how it is done. Section 60 is applicable if the following conditions are satisfied. The taxpayer owns an asset. The ownership of asset is not transferred by him. The income from the asset is transferred to any person under a settlement or agreement. If the above conditions are satisfied, the income from the asset will be taxable in the hands of the transferor. In this case, we can see that the person, the assessee, transfers the income of his asset to the transferee. In that case, who is taxable? Transferor is taxable, not the transferee, because the asset is in the hands of transferor himself. I'd like to say that something relating to transferor as well as transferee. For example, suppose X wants to transfer assets to Y. X is the transferor and Y is the transferee. So if X transfers the asset to Y, if not the asset, the income of the asset alone is transferred from X to Y. In that case, X has to pay the tax for the income. We'll see one more example. X has fixed deposit of rupees 2 lakh with Bank of Baroda, annual interest being rupees 30,000. Mr. X transfers his interest income to Y, his brother, without transferring the ownership of fixed asset. Here, he has transferred the interest income but did not transfer the ownership of fixed deposit. So, transfer of income without transfer of asset. Asset is a fixed deposit here. He has just transferred the interest income alone. That is this 30,000 rupees alone. So, in that case, the interest income will be taxable in the hands of Mr. X, who is the transferor. Next one. Second one is revocable transfer of asset by an assessee to another person. So what is this revocable transfer? Revocable transfer means transferor has transferred the capital asset to someone with the right to take back the same in future. For example, if X has transferred the asset to Y, he has transferred the asset to Y, but in a condition that he will get back the asset after a certain period. So the asset goes back to X itself after a certain period. Then it is called as revocable transfer. In that case, who has to pay this tax? X has to pay the tax, and the amount of the income in the asset income will be taxable in the hands of assessee. By virtue of section 61, if an asset is transferred under a revocable transfer, income from such asset is taxable in the hands of transferor. In the hands of transferor and shall be included in his total income. So, in case of revocable transfer, it's taxable in the hands of transferor. Let's see one more example. Mr. A transfers 2,500 debentures of rupees 100 each, carrying 12% interest to Mr. B on the condition that if the price is not paid within 1 year, the interest will revert back to Mr. A. So, Mr. A transfers the interest debentures debentures of carrying interest rate of 12% to Mr. B. So, he transfers the debentures to Mr. B, that in case if the price is not paid for the debentures, the interest amount whatever B gets will be taken back by Mr. A itself. In that case, this is called as revocable transfer. Here, though Mr. B receives interest of 30,000, the income is taxable in the hands of Mr. A. There is one more condition. Asset is transferred before 1st April 1961 and revocable within 6 years. In case if asset is transferred before 1st April 1961 and revocable within 6 years, it is taxable in the hands of transferor and shall be included in the total income of the transferor. Example, let's see one example for this. X transfers an asset on March 31st, 1961. It is revocable on or before June 6, 1963. So within 3 years, it is a revocable transfer. On or before June 1963, have 6 years period of time, within 6 years, revocable within 6 years. But this one, the asset here, the asset is revocable before June 6, 1963, within 3 years. So it is a revocable transfer. Income arising from asset is taxable in the hands of X. So here the income, in case of revocable income, income will be taxable in the hands of X. Conversely, if X transfers an asset before April 1, 1961 and it is revocable after 6 years, in case if the asset is taken after 6 years, say on April 10, 1967, it is not taken as a revocable transfer. Section 63 also defines transfer and revocable transfer. A transfer shall be deemed to be revocable if it contains any provisions for the retransfer directly or indirectly of the whole or any part of the income or asset to the transferor. It means that the asset already which is transferred to the transferee is transferred again to the transferor himself. Either it is transferred directly or it is transferred indirectly. It is in any way gives the transferor a right to reassume the power directly of the whole or indirectly over the whole or any part of the income or asset. So here again you can reassume the power, that is it is retransferred again. Transferor get the authority over the asset, that is called as reassuming the power. Here I'll just tell you the example of how it is transferred directly or indirectly or partly or wholly. Suppose if X transfers the property, house property directly to Mrs. X. It's direct transfer. Suppose X transfers a property to Y, his friend, and then tries to transfer this property through Y to Mrs. X. Then it is indirect transfer. Anyhow, though it is an indirect transfer, it is taxable in the hands of X. Transfer includes any settlement, trust, covenant, agreement or arrangement. Now let us see one more example. X transfers asset to Y. Under the terms of transfer, he has a right to use the asset for the personal benefits of his family members whenever he wants. So, he has transferred the asset to Y, but he can, whenever he wants, he can get back the asset to himself for the personal benefit of his family members. Till date, he has not exercised this right. In that case, it is a revocable transfer. I told you already that in case of revocable transfer, it is taxable in the hands of the transferor himself. So the entire income from the asset would be taxable in the hands of Mr. X, who is the transferor. Next one, transfer of income by irrevocable transfer of asset. Previously we have seen revocable transfer. Now we'll see what is irrevocable transfer. These are all the exemptions to the revocable transfer. A transfer is irrevocable if the following conditions are satisfied. If the transfer of asset is by way of trust, which is irrevocable during the lifetime of the beneficiary. Means irrevocable transfer means transferor have transferred the asset without having the right to take back the asset in future. So here he may give the right, at the same time he will not claim the right again. It is transferred to the beneficiary himself till the lifetime. We'll see one example. Mr. A transfers house property to his relative Mr. B on 1st April 2018 on the condition that the property will not revert back to Mr. A during the lifetime of Mr. B. So, the property will not be taken back by Mr. A. In that case, the annual rental income is given as 60,000. If the property is not taken back by Mr. A, in that case, it will be taxable in the hands of transferee, not the transfer. In case if the property is taken back by Mr. A, it becomes a revocable transfer and it is taxable in the hands of Mr. A. Here, it is not reverted back. So, who enjoys the benefit? Mr. B enjoys the benefit and till his lifetime. As per section 62, the annual rental income is taxable in the hands of transferee Mr. B because the transferee is not revocable during the lifetime of Mr. B. Where the income arises to any person by virtue of transfer made before 1/4/1961, which is not revocable for the period of 6 years or more. So here again before 1/4/1961, which is not revocable for a period of 6 years. Any transfer of income by irrevocable transfer is taxable in the hands of transferee. So previously we have seen in case of revocable transfer, it is taxable in the hands of transferor. Here in case of irrevocable transfer, it is taxable in the hands of transferee. Because the transferor, the transferor does not take back the asset during the lifetime of the beneficiary. I'll just give the summary of all the 3 sections which is explained. Section 60 for who is a specify any individual if he transfers income without transferring asset, it's taxable in the hands of transferor. In case of section 61, transfer of income to revocable transfer of asset. What is revocable transfer? Revocable transfer means transferor has a right to take back the asset. In case if the transferor has a right to take back the asset, it is taxable in the hands of transferor. Section 62, irrevocable transfer. Irrevocable transfer means transferor transfers the asset which will not be taken back by him during the lifetime of the beneficiary. In that case, it is taxable in the hands of transferee. Now let us see the next one, clubbing of income of spouse. Who is a spouse? Spouse means for a husband it is wife and for a wife it is husband. Remuneration from a concern in which spouse has substantial interest. This is the first one. So what is this substantial interest? An individual is deemed to have substantial interest if he or she beneficially holds equity shares carrying not less than 20% of voting power in the case of company, or is entitled to not less than 20% of profits in case of concern other than the company at any time during the previous year. So substantial interest means an individual is deemed to have benefit of equity shares carrying not less than 20% of voting power. So 20% of voting power in case of company should be present for the assessee to hold the substantial interest. So in case of remuneration from a concern which spouse has substantial interest, we'll see what are all the conditions which are applicable. The spouse of an individual gets any salary, commission, fees, etc. from the concern. The individual has a substantial interest in such a concern. The remuneration paid to the spouse is not due to technical or professional knowledge of the spouse. Then such salary, commission, fees, etc. shall be considered as income of individual and not of the spouse. So here we can see that the salary, commission, fees from the concern, in case if the assessee has substantial interest. Substantial interest means the assessee has 20% of, more than 20% of voting rights in a company. In that case, if he has appointed his spouse in the company as a worker, and the spouse does not have any technical or professional knowledge and earns the salary, commission, fees, etc. from the concern, in that case, income of the spouse will be taxable in the hands of the assessee or the individual. We'll see an example. X has substantial interest in A Limited and Mrs. A is employed by A Limited without any technical or professional qualification to justify the remuneration. In this case, salary income of Mrs. X shall be taxable in the hands of X. So here we can see that Mrs. X does not have any professional qualification, but she has been appointed there in the company where Mr. X has a substantial interest. This one has done mainly to evade the tax, which can be seen here. So because Mrs. X may be earning a huge amount of salary or commission from the company. So in this case, the government has made a rule that the tax will be clubbed in the hands of Mr. X. If the spouse has technical or professional qualification and applies experience and knowledge, then remuneration is not clubbed. We have seen in case if the spouse does not have any technical knowledge, it will be taxable in the hands of X. But if the spouse has technical knowledge or professional qualification, in that case, the remuneration is not clubbed in the hands of X, or it is not taxable in the hands of X. If the income of the spouse who is getting remuneration from the concern is greatest than the total income of the spouse who has substantial interest, there will be no clubbing of such remuneration. In case if the spouse gets the more income than the assessee himself, in that case also no clubbing is done for the remuneration. So in case of substantial interest, three things have to be seen. One is salary, commission, fees of the spouse. Second one is if there is any substantial interest and whether the spouse has technical or professional knowledge. In case if technical or professional knowledge is present, the income is not taxable in the hands of transfer. If there is no technical knowledge or professional knowledge, in that case, the income will be taxable in the hands of the transferor. Next one, income from assets transferred without adequate consideration by individual to his or her spouse under section 65 subsection 1 4. Income from assets transferred to spouse becomes taxable under the provisions of section 64 under subsection 1 section 4 as per the following condition. The taxpayer is an individual. He has the transferred directly or indirectly of an asset other than house property. Here, for adequate consideration of individual, the asset should be other than the house property. The asset is transferred to his spouse. The asset is transferred without adequate consideration. So, what is this without adequate consideration? If Mr. A transfers an asset to Mrs. A for rupees 10,000, in return Mrs. A does not give anything to Mr. A. If A transfers the asset to Mr. For example, if A transfers the asset to Mrs. A, maybe for rupees 10,000 as per the example, but in return Mrs. A does not give anything to Mr. A, nil, or sometimes she may give a part of it, 500 rupees or something like that. In that case, it is called as without adequate consideration. So there is no consideration here. It's just transferred. So without adequate consideration means Mr. A transfers the asset. In return, Mrs. A does not give anything to Mr. A in return. If the above conditions are satisfied, any income from such asset shall be deemed to be the income of taxpayer, that is assessee, who has transferred the asset. Because Mrs. A does not give anything to Mr. A. So here automatically Mr. A is responsible, and here as an assessee he has to pay the amount. So let us see one illustration. X transfers 500 debentures of IDBI to his wife without adequate consideration. Interest income on these debentures will be included in the income of X. So here we can see that X transferred 500 debentures of IDBI to his wife without adequate consideration. In case if it is transferred without adequate consideration, the interest income of the debentures will be included in the income of X, that is, it will be taxable in the hands of X. Now let us see what are all the income of the spouse which is not clubbed. Asset transferred before marriage, asset transferred for adequate consideration. Here asset transfer for without adequate consideration. The asset transferred without adequate consideration. Here we can see that asset transferred for adequate consideration. Asset transferred in connection with an agreement to live apart. Asset acquired by the spouse out of the pin money. What is this pin money? It is an allowance given to the wife by her husband for the personal and usual household expenses. So in all these cases, income of the spouse is not clubbed or aggregated. We'll see one problem. Mr. A purchased gold jewelry worth rupees 7 lakh and gift it to his wife on 1st June 2018. On 1st September 2018, Mrs. A sold the jewelry for rupees 8 lakh and on the same day invested the same in the plot of land for rupees 10 lakh. She paid the excess amount needed out of her own funds. The plot of land was sold for rupees 12 lakh on 11th November 2018. State in whose hands the income is taxable. So here there are two scenarios given. The first one is gift is given. Gold jewelry is gifted by Mr. A to Mrs. A. So it is the worth of the jewelry is 7 lakh rupees. So here it is without consideration. So gift given by Mr. A as jewelry is without consideration. So at the same time we can see that after getting the asset, Mrs. A sold the jewelry for 8 lakh. So she sold the jewelry for 8 lakh. The profit is short term because on 1st September itself she sold the jewelry which she got on for 1st June 2018. So it is a short term capital gain. So 8 lakh minus 7 lakh is 1 lakh. 1 lakh is the short term capital gain. This short term capital gain will be taxable in the hands of Mr. A, the transferor. Again, one more case is given. On the same day, she invested the same in the plot of land for rupees 10 lakhs. She got the amount from the jewelry as 8 lakh. What she did, she went and brought a land for rupees 10 lakhs. After getting the land, again she paid the excess amount, that is excess amount is 2 lakhs. 8 lakhs only she got from the jewelry, 2 lakhs she paid from her own hand and from her own funds. The plot was sold. Then she sold the plot, whatever she got as a land, she sold that land for rupees 12 lakh. So 12 lakh she has sold on 11th November 2018. So this is also a short term capital asset because 11th November she brought an asset on 1st September 2018 and she sold it on 11th November 2018. Within 3 years period itself she has sold the asset. So it's a short term capital asset and there is a gain. You can see that 12 lakh is the amount of sale and 10 lakh is the purchase price. So 12 lakh minus 10 lakh is 2 lakhs. This 2 lakh is a short term capital gain. Here we can see that the gold jewelry worth 7 lakh was given by Mr. A and this 3 lakh Mrs. A has brought the jewelry and again she has transacted. She has purchased a land by putting some extra fund from her own hands. So this 3 lakhs, the 2 lakhs of 2 lakhs plus 1 lakh profit, that is 3 lakhs, is taxable in the hands of Mrs. A. So 7 lakh, it will be, it's like out of the capital gain 2 lakhs, it's taxable in the hands of both Mr. A and Mrs. A in the ratio of 7:3. That is 7 lakh is to 3 lakh. As 7 lakh was contributed by Mr. A and 3 lakh is contributed by Mrs. A in the investment in the land. To summarize the income of a spouse, in case if the income is received by the spouse as a salary, income, salary, commission, fees or any other remuneration, cash or kind, and which has a substantial interest by the individual. If the individual has a substantial interest, no clubbing is done if spouse possesses technical or professional qualification. If the income is received in the form of salary, commission, fees or any other remuneration in cash or kind and the individual has a substantial interest. If no technical or professional qualification is there of a spouse, then it will be taxed in the hands of an individual or transferor. In case if spouse income from the asset transferred directly or indirectly to another person. So here directly or indirectly, it is transferred to the without adequate consideration. In that case, it will be taxable in the hands of transferor. If the spouse receives salary, commission, and the individual has a substantial interest over the company, in that case, no clubbing is done if the spouse possesses technical qualification. If the spouse receives salary, commission, fees, etc., and in that case, if individual has a substantial interest in the company, if no technical or professional qualification is there, in that case it will be taxable in the hands of the assessee or the individual himself. In the third case, the spouse receives without any adequate consideration. Asset is transferred to the spouse without any adequate consideration. In that case, income will be taxable in the hands of the transferor. Next, clubbing of income from assets transferred to son's wife. Here, son's wife is daughter-in-law. The asset is transferred to daughter-in-law. Income from asset transferred to son's wife attract the provisions of section 64(1) subsection 4 as per the conditions below. The taxpayer is an individual. He or she has transferred directly or indirectly an asset after 31st May 1973. The asset is transferred to son's wife only. The transfer should have taken place to only son's wife. The relationship of father-in-law, mother-in-law and daughter-in-law should persist both at the time of transfer of asset as well as at the time of accrual of income. So, only after the girl has become the daughter-in-law or only the son's wife is eligible for clubbing of income. In that case, eligible in case if the asset is transferred without adequate consideration. In the case of such individuals, the income from the asset is included in the income of the assessee who has transferred the asset. So here you can see in case if the income is transferred to the daughter-in-law, the father-in-law or the mother-in-law transfers the income to the daughter-in-law without adequate consideration. The income will be taxable in the hands of the transferor or the assessee who transfers the asset. Now let us see scenario 1. Mr. Arjun holds 1000 debentures of rupees 100 each, carrying 12% interest to his daughter-in-law without any consideration. The transfer was made on 1st July 2018. State in whose hands the income is taxable. Here we can see that the transfer made to the daughter-in-law from Mr. Arjun is without any consideration. In case if it is without any consideration transferred to the daughter-in-law, it is taxable in the hands of transferor. So we have to calculate the interest income, how much it is. So interest income is 1000 is the debenture amount into 100 into 12%. 100 rupees, 1000 debentures into per debenture cost is 100 rupees into 12%, which gives you 12,000. 12,000 is the interest income which will be chargeable in the hands of Mr. Arjun, the transferor. We will see next scenario. Mr. Ashok transfers an asset without consideration. Here it is without consideration. Annual income of rupees 3 lakh to an association of person created by him. The trust provides that income derived from the asset is to be utilized for the benefit of Ashok's wife and the daughter-in-law equally. State whether the tax liability of the income is in the hands of transferor or transferee. Here, if the asset is transferred without a consideration, but there is no direct transfer, but there is an indirect transfer to the Ashok's wife and daughter-in-law equally. So there is an indirect transfer, that to asset without consideration, transfer of asset without consideration. So since the transfer is without consideration, the annual income of rupees 3 lakh is taxable in the hands of Mr. Ashok, the transferor. So to sum up the summary of son's wife or any individual, um, daughter-in-law, son's wife is the daughter-in-law, income from asset transferred directly or indirectly to the spouse without adequate consideration will be taxable in the hands of transferor. This one next we'll see clubbing of income of minor child. This minor child always, in case of minor child, it's asked in exam. Problems are asked from this particular provision in exam. All income which arises or accrues to the minor child shall be clubbed in the hands of his parent, whose total income is greater. So, minor child income will be taxable in the hands of the parent's income, whose maybe father or mother, whosever income is greater, based on that particular income, the minor child's income is clubbed. However, in case of parents are separated, the income of minor will be included in the income of the parent who maintains the minor child in the relevant previous year. In case if the parents are separated, in that case, whoever is along with the minor child, with whether father or mother, along with them, the income of minor will be included and taxable. Now let us see what are all the exemptions to the parent. An individual shall be entitled to exemption of rupees 1500 per annum in respect of each minor child if the income of such minor as included under section 64 subsection 1a exceeds the amount. However, if the income of any minor child is less than 1500 per annum, the aforesaid exemption shall be restricted to the income so included in the total income of the individual. So till 1500 the amount is exempted from the income of the parent in respect of any minor child. Or sometimes can say that 1500 will be deducted from the total income of the parent in case if minor child's income is included. When section 64 1a is not applicable, in case of income of minor child from the following sources, the income of minor child is not clubbed with the income of the parent. We'll see what are all the cases the income of minor child is not clubbed with the income of the parent. First one, income of minor child on account of any manual work. In case if the minor child earns income through any manual work or any activity involving application of his skill, talent or specialized knowledge and experience, or if he is suffering from any disability specified under section 80U, this income from minor child is not clubbed with the income of the parent. So we'll see problems based on this. Master Naren, age 15 years, received the following income: interest on company deposits, interest on bank deposits, interest on government securities, interest on debentures is given, rental income of plot received, in, income from singing concerts held by him, income by acting in the film. His father's income is given, his mother's income is given. Here we can see that his mother's, Naren's mother income is higher. So the income of Naren will be added along with the income of his mother. So next, what are all the incomes have to be added up or aggregated along with income of his mother? Interest on company deposits, interest on bank deposits, government securities, interest on debentures, rental income of plot received has to be added. Income by acting in a film and income from singing concerns held by him will not be included because these are all the activities which involves skill and application of talent of a minor, which we have already seen here. In case income of minor, activity involved in application of skill or talent, the income will not be clubbed with the help of with the income of the parent. So we are not clubbing the income with the parent. So these the total income clubbed with mother's income is, all these you add up, you get 97,000. Next, problem number 3. Mr. X from the income of family is as under: Mr. X from business 2 lakh, Mrs. X from employment 1 lakh. So here the highest amount is of Mr. X from the business. So along with the income of Mr. X, only the minor son and minor daughter's income will be added up. Now we'll see minor son of Mr. X. He earns an interest from the company which is received from his father 10,000. So this has to be added up along with the father's income. So Mr. X from business is 2 lakh, income of minor son of Mr. X, interest from the company is 10,000. Then minor son of Mr. X, Mr. Y, from acting in film. So acting in film is through some specialized knowledge, so this will not be included. Then minor daughter of X, Miss K, she income from minor daughter of Miss K is 5,000, that has to be added up. So total income is 2,15,000. Per child, we can claim an exemption to the extent of 1,500. So 1,500 into 2, that is 3,000. So gross total income is 2,12,000 minus 3,000, that is 2,12,000 is the gross total income of Mr. X. Mr. Y's income is 1 lakh and Mr. Y, sorry, Mrs. X income is 1 lakh and income of Mr. Y is 50,000, which he has got from acting in a film. To summarize this, any income arising through transfer of the asset by parents will be clubbed with the hands of the parents whose income is higher. Any income to minor from manual work done by him or any activity involving application of his skill, talent or specialized knowledge, no clubbing of such income received by the minor is done. Next, deemed incomes. Assessing officer, while making scrutiny assessment, will make inquiries regarding extraordinary receipts, investments made or expenses incurred during the year. The assessor is not in the position to give an explanation, or if the assessing officer is not satisfied with the explanation given by the assessee, then the part of the income will be included in assessee's total income of that particular year of assessment. That is called as deemed income. The following are the few of the incomes which are included. They are cash credit, unexplained investment, unexplained money, bullion jewelry, undisclosed investments, unexplained expenditure, and amount borrowed or repaid in Hindi. This question is always asked in 2 marks, so please learn this. With this, we conclude the chapter aggregation of income. In the next video, we will see about the set off and carry forward of losses.